Let's talk though to Chris now. Chris, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I don't think anyone who's worked and or lived around the streets of Britain at the moment would disagree with this poll, would they? I mean, Sir Keir Starmer's team apparently might be slightly surprised by the scale of it, but basically Nigel Farage is more trusted than the Prime Minister or Kemi Badenoch on almost every single issue about tackling crime, and he's launched himself this morning with a kind of a to-do list on certainly on finding more prison places and punishing people in prisons much more harshly.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Well, we mustn't fool ourselves into thinking that the UK, London in particular, was ever crime-free. I mean, we you know, there's always been a lot of crime in around cities across the world, particularly London and Manchester.
It's definitely worse now than it's been for a long time.
But yeah, it's not necessarily the amount of crime; it's the type of crime.
Yeah.
It's the low-level crime that we're seeing now that we never saw before. It's the willful disrespect of shops and people, and the violence on the streets that we never really had in any great numbers before. And I think that's what scares people, and it's been caused, Mike. Let's not you know, society has made the police pretty much incapable of dealing with this kind of crime, taken away the signs of security that we all want, like police stations, officers on the street walking around, you know, at least having someone to report crime to would it's all gone, and this is something that's happened over the last 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, it has got particularly bad just in the last couple of years. Just I speak just as a regular Londoner, you know, you see it more now, and you're right. I mean, you know, it's the type of crime that's different. You know, you see more cases of people, you know, smashing up cars, for example. You see, you know, a lot of social media is responsible for this as well, I suppose. But
yeah, you're right.
I mean, I've had my phone nicked. I know plenty of people who've also had their phones nicked. You see people getting attacked in the street. You see people getting sort of steamed, as we used to call it in New York. You know, it seems as though the police are just not really able to cope with it.
Well, they're not, because the simple fact is we've taken away the numbers of police officers. Social media, I think you make a big point there, actually, Mike, that social media, and, you know, we all see the same incidents over and over again. These things some of them may have happened in the past, but we didn't see them because they weren't filmed.
Yeah.
But the key point is the whole criminal justice system is shot. We need to invest in it. Unfortunately, the government have got lots of things they want to spend money on, but you know, without adequate policing, without police stations, without a decent criminal justice system and prison places, our society starts to fall apart, because policing is the glue that holds everything together. You can't run a business if you're going to get robbed every week. You know, these things, policing is such an important part of society, and we've underinvested in it.
Yeah, I mean, according to this survey you've got, of the following crimes, which do you think are currently under control or out of control? Violent crime, 60% out of control. Knife crime, 74% out of control. Theft, 70% out of control. Do you think Britain is becoming a lawless country? Yes. Practically half the people they asked said that they thought it was. And I guess to a large extent as well, it does depend where you live, and there are some parts of the country which are less affected, I suppose, by what we perceive to be this crime wave. But there's just a sense that there's a lot of lawlessness out there, and a lot of particularly young offenders who don't really care whether they get caught or not.
Yeah, no respect for the law, no fear of the law, and without that fear and respect, there are some people who will tip over the edge and do mad things. But you know, the social media does play a big part, because fear of crime has always been a big problem, and an unreasonable fear of crime sometimes. You know, we see these things happening in, you know, nowadays it seems to be sword fighting, you know, in some of our towns, which would never have been seen before and probably never happened so much.
Well, I remember last year we were reporting on a sort of a machete fight that took place down in Southend, and people were going, well, when did that happen? And then we started talking to people in Southend, and they went, well, you know what, it's actually started happening quite a lot. Every weekend now we see, I think it was last summer, you know, these kind of kids arriving from London on the train, and by the time it gets to sort of 9, 10 o'clock at night, they're all out on the streets trying to slash each other with machetes. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and if you don't fear the consequences, then you know, you're more likely to have these things happening. And let's be quite frank, you know, if I was a youngster growing up in London now, I'd be scared, actually. And, you know, you can understand why people are carrying knives, because they think that it's going to make them safer. It doesn't. It makes them far less safe, but people are carrying knives in defence to defend themselves from others, and this is just a spiral that goes out of control.
Yeah.
And the only way to deal with this, unfortunately, is to strengthen the police, give the police more numbers, to make sure that there are court places and prison places for swift justice, so that if people do commit, they know that they will likely go to court, there will likely be bad consequences for them, and society will feel safer as a result.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that somebody can get to grips with it soon before it completely spirals out of control. But good to talk to you. Chris Phillips, thank you very much indeed, former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office.